Hi everyone, Dr. Vernita Glenn-White here. I go by Dr. V. I'm a former university professor, former K-12 educator. Now I am a transformational life coach and advisor. So before I say anything after that, you may see some affiliations here from my hat and my sweatshirt. They have nothing to do with what I'm about to say. It's just cold. And I wanted to hop on just really quickly to just share my opinion. So before anybody says anything, these two have nothing to do with what I'm about to say. So I just watched the Tyre Nichols police video footage, and I didn't read too much into the stories. It's sad, and I'll be honest. It was like, oh man, another tragedy that has happened, and just become so desensitized to that, and that's horrible. But what made me start looking into this story was that some people kept posting, and I didn't see a lot, but it was enough for me to say, well, what really happened? People are saying that you don't have to watch the footage in order to prove, your blackness or your loyalty, or that you're down with the cause. Know yourself. And if you can't take on that type of trauma, then don't do it. And I was like, well, how bad is this video? So I watched it, and it wasn't so graphic to me. And that's why I led with my background. And because unfortunately, as a former K-12 teacher, I would see students get into fights all the time. And this was well before social media. So I would literally see these things happen. So I've, sad to say, been used to that. But I watched it, and it was heartbreaking, just like when I would see them in person, like years and years ago. But what I want to say, and like I said, I didn't go into all the details. I don't know the police officers. I don't know Tyre. I don't know anything about their backgrounds. But from what I know, as, like I said, I said former university professor, but I will always be an educator. And I've said this before, but I don't think I've ever fully said it publicly, is that this has nothing, in my opinion, to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion training. I know a lot of people were saying that, especially what happened with George Floyd and all of the others who died at the hands of police brutality, and those were from white officers, but these were Black officers. And so that's why I said this is not a diversity, equity, and inclusion matter. Now, to hear me when I say this, I've done trainings on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's a start. But what I've realized, and from public servants, and I'm only going to talk about police officers and educators because they have similar, positions to protect and serve, is there's a deeper issue than just understanding diversity, equity, and how to include people and belonging. From what I've observed, just looking at different cases, even though I've never spoken out about them, but the common thread that I've seen, and some people may say, like, how are you relating police officers to educators, is because we're put in the public and we're responsible for people's lives. And it could be like other professions, but those two for sure. And it really goes down to looking at the individual that we're putting into our police academies and in our school systems. And you can do a lot of the formal training, the professional training, and those parts are necessary. But as the world keeps evolving and people are being more exposed to life, now is really about what are those triggers of that person, that individual. What sets an individual off? And while I'm saying this because, and I'm trying to just keep my thoughts together, when I listened to the audio of the police officers and how they were reacting, after the chase, and then after they had, after Tyre was cuffed and on the ground, it sounded like a lot of, yeah, man, I got him. I did it. Did you see that? And the only thing I could think of was gang mentality. Now, I don't have any affiliations. I haven't studied gangs. I'm just saying that from my experience as an educator. And it's like, well, what led you to, what leads people to go that far? You know, what triggered in their mind to have to prove themselves? And it was all about proving. It was an ego thing. And I'm saying that across the board. And I've seen this happen in the education system as well, where you may get some educators or teachers or administrators trying to prove themselves in situations, you know, with students. And I won't get too much into that, but this training goes deeper than it's personal development, just point blank period. And I've been learning about personal growth and personal development all through education, but I didn't know that I never, you know, put the two together. And then now that I've really studied this personal development industry, all about life coaching and transformational work, it really has to do with the person at their core values, any experiences that are happening in their heads, any PTSD that they may have had, and trauma, and dealing with trauma. We did a lot of that as an educator, when you really start looking at the whole child. And I remember I had to stop teaching mathematics for a semester because students were having these interactions and altercations with children that they were supposed to go out and teach. And it was like, whoa, you got to go heal some stuff before you show up in this classroom. And when I watched this video and listened to the conversations those police officers had after they captured, because that's what I got them, after they captured Tyree, it was like, whoa, did something happen in your childhood? Did something happen in your adult life? Like, you know, it was a lot of that going on, and I could hear it. And some people may disagree, but I've said this, and I didn't say it publicly, but I'm saying it now. In situations like this, police officers, teachers, professors, medical personnel, people in those professions like that, I mean, everybody could use a little, you know, therapy and life coaching. We all are sometimes, you know, one incident away. But seriously, understanding those triggers and those hangups and those traumatic experiences that we brushed off, you never know what's going to trigger you and what's going to cause you to explode. And so I've always been an advocate, now I'm saying it publicly, of having therapy, coaching, some kind of, you know, ongoing personal development work for these high stress occupations, because you're responsible for carrying so much and you see so much. And sometimes you may not have dealt with what you have going on, but in situations it just comes out. And then if you're getting around certain people, you can call it pack mentality, whatever, you start getting around certain people, then your energy starts feeding off theirs. And the next thing you know, it's a situation that happened like this. And I hope this is making sense. I am an advocate for, you know, justice. I'm going to say that I am glad people are outraged, that it's not just because, you know, white officers, you know, killed a black person, but it's like, you know, law enforcement has done something wrong and people should be held accountable. I'm not even going to go into, you know, what he did, what he did not do. It's just like, did you really have to do all of this? What were you trying to prove? So the moral of what I said, and this is a lot longer than I anticipated, was that I hope that as we are moving forward, training in the training and development industry, that we go beyond just teaching professional protocol. We go beyond teaching diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, unless it's about who you are at your core. And I've said this before when I used to do consulting work for universities, because it's still training and development. I said we teach, lead, and serve who we are at our core. And if we're jacked up inside, it is going to come out. Now, this isn't about, you know, being the model citizen or being perfect, but this is about being a human being. And if you are right in your human beingness, there's no reason for you to get that triggered to where you want to cause harm to another human to prove something, to protect something to hide something or to defend something. So I'll leave that right there. If I need to come back and clarify anything, you can leave some comments down below. But I was just moved to say something just from my perspective. So justice for Tyree, comfort for his family and friends. This is a long road ahead of them. You know, just because those police officers got justice, that doesn't mean that the family, you know, that they have justice. So my thoughts and prayers to the family, and I'm going to say my thoughts and prayers to the families and friends of the police officers as well, because, you know, they probably woke up that day thinking that their loved ones were going to come home, or they may have seen it coming. I don't know, but just prayers for everyone, comfort. And yeah, I'm Dr. V, and remember to be well, be empowered, be bold, and be brilliant. Bye.